Hey, this is Hubwood and I'm really excited for today's review in which we will take a quick look at the Lenovo LOQ 15 or LOQ 15 gaming laptop, which replaces Lenovo's budget IdeaPad Gaming 3 series while at the same time providing some improvements compared to that. In today's tested AMD version, the laptop comes with a Ryzen 5 7640HS, which is a brand new 6-core 12-thread CPU with 4.6 GHz boost in all cores, 16 GB of fast DDR5 5600 MHz RAM, and the pretty weird refresh of the RTX 3050 Mobile with now 6 instead of 4 GB, as well as a 512 GB SSD and a medium-sized 170-watt AC adapter. PS, I also reviewed the Ryzen 5 7640HS of this laptop in a separate video, so make sure to subscribe and check that one out later. Oh, and I will also provide videos with the integrated RX 760M of the Ryzen 5 inside of this laptop as well. Okay, so I won't go into the technical details of this unit too much in this review, as this laptop can be configured in a lot of ways, which will have a very big impact on the gaming performance and of course the price. It starts at somewhere around $950 in the US, while this model was as low as $730 with 8 GB of RAM though, on a sale while I was preparing this video, which is actually a pretty good price, and it can go up to $1,500 when configured with the fastest Intel CPU and an RTX 4060, as well as a bigger SSD, more RAM and a better screen. But the chassis, the build quality, the speakers, the keyboard, the touchpad, the connections and the screen will be most likely very similar or the same on all 15-inch models that have a full HD screen like the one we are looking at today. So I'm focusing on giving you an idea on how the laptop feels in the first place and what to expect from a Lenovo LOQ 15 in general. And what really surprised me in a positive way is that it is so similar to a Lenovo Legion 5 or the Lenovo Legion 5 Pro in many ways, and that is really a good thing. But first let's talk about the build quality for a bit. It's really almost on the level of a Lenovo Legion 5 or 5 Pro, and it has a sturdy, subtle plastic chassis with a blue finish at the back and a really good hinge, and it can be opened with one hand easily. And the maximum angle is pretty wide, as you can see here. It's also pretty good in avoiding fingerprints and doesn't get greasy too quickly thanks to that. The keyboard made a good impression and it feels nice. In this version it only has a white backlit with 2 brightness levels, but there are versions with RGB lit keys out there as well. The touchpad felt a bit cheaper considering the clicking sound, and it's pretty far to the left, but it seems to recognize it if you touch it with your palm, so you won't accidentally move the mouse cursor while gaming when you touch it. But you might accidentally click it though while doing so deactivating it in games is still a good idea. It weighs almost 2.5 kilograms, which isn't making it the lightest 15-inch laptop around. If we open it up, we are able to install a second M.2 SSD and to easily upgrade the RAM. The LOQ 15 has access to the Lenovo Vantage software, which allows many individual adjustments considering the fan speeds and the performance. It even has a mux switch as well as a battery conservation mode. Considering the performance modes, it's safe to say that the silent mode is providing an actually silent noise level while still providing more than enough performance to play even AAA games. Balanced and performance mode are almost equal considering the performance, but balanced is a tiny bit quieter. Overall, I have to point out that the cooling system is really great and absolutely sufficient for the LOQ 15. Even after a few Cinebench R23 runs, the laptop did not thermal throttle nor power throttle at all at a room temperature of 25 degrees Celsius with and without a laptop stand, which I have to strongly point out is very uncommon for such a cheap budget laptop. After 20 minutes of playing Hogwarts Legacy, I was getting around 75 degrees Celsius for the GPU and 82 degrees Celsius for the CPU using a laptop stand, while the fan noise is really acceptable. I've really seen much more expensive laptops that have been a lot louder. In gaming, the WASD keys, they get a bit warm on the full gaming load, but it's not uncomfortable. The speakers are okay for a budget laptop, though the maximum loudness is a bit too weak. The integrated camera has a 1080p resolution, and there is also a camera kill switch at the right side, which is always a nice to have. Yes, this is what the integrated camera looks like and the integrated microphone sounds like, and it's actually really decent. The laptop has a basic but yet solid set of ports or connections. On the left side we are getting a USB-C 3.2 port with DisplayPort support, though in this version no Thunderbolt since AMD CPUs do not support that. As well as a 3.5mm audio jack. At the back we are getting two more USB 3.2 Type A ports, a LAN port, an HDMI 2.1 port and the power connector. At the right side we're only getting another USB 3.2 Type A port and a camera kill switch. It is important to know that the screen quality will vary quite a lot between countries or at least continents, and it depends on the resolution you're getting for the screen. But in this case, for the cheaper 15-inch Full HD screen, I was getting only 66% of the sRGB color range, 47% NTSC and 49% for Adobe RGB. If you are familiar with these values, you know that aren't any good results, but since the maximum brightness is pretty decent, with up to 379 nits, regular users won't have anything to complain about in that case. The 60 Wh battery was providing okay runtimes on idle, but I had issues with the used wattage when watching YouTube. But this might differ a lot as well if you're getting different configurations with different CPUs or GPUs than the version that I was testing. So I got 8.5 hours on idle with 20% display brightness and activated Wi-Fi, which is okay considering it's only 60 Wh. But watching YouTube, the laptop was using around 25 Watt for some reason, which is clearly too much as it only led to 2 hours and 20 minutes of runtime. But I'm pretty sure that this is software related and I must have done something wrong here, I don't know. I just couldn't figure it out this time. So take that result with a grain of salt. Now the overall performance will rely a lot on the configuration that you are getting, but since we are basically testing the absolute base model here, I'll just feed you with some quick information on its performance. All other versions will most likely be faster or at least equal to this one. In Cinebench R23 I was getting 13,077 points on the multi-core and 1,718 points on the single-core test, which is pretty decent for a 6-core CPU. In PCMark 10 I was getting a great total score of up to 7,161 points in performance mode. Nice. The 512GB SSD wasn't super fast, but still okay with a reading speed of around 2.7 GB per second and a rather slowish writing speed of 1.8 GB per second. In Firestrike I was getting 12,396 points in total, and in TimeSpy I was getting 5,995 points, though that will differ a lot on the models with an RTX 4050 and RTX 4060 or better CPUs. The gaming experience was okay considering we are only using an RTX 3050 in this case, though the larger 6GB VRAM of this 2023 refresh surely helps in newer games on high and ultra settings. It is yet capable of playing every game out there, though newer or poorly ported games won't work on very high or ultra settings. Any esport title will work perfectly fine though, and in many cases you can reach the full potential of the 144Hz screen, which also has G-Sync, on lower settings for sure. I actually compared the GPU of this specific laptop to some other GPUs in a dedicated video or videos like the RTX 4050 mobile or the RTX 3060 mobile, so make sure to check these out afterwards as well. I will also provide the links to these videos in the description below this video. I also have to point out that once more, thanks to the very efficient Ryzen 5 in this case, gaming on battery, so unplugged, is working surprisingly well and smooth. In this chart I'm comparing the performance of the balanced mode plugged in with the balanced mode on battery in some games. Though be aware that this might not apply to the models with an Intel CPU. Okay, so in my personal opinion, Lenovo really have kinda outdone themselves with this one. Considering this laptop actually starts at $730, okay, on sales in the US, we're getting a great package with a decent build quality and features that are very uncommon in this price range. And it is a very clear recommendation from my side if you're getting at least the RTX 4050 or even better 4060 version, that is. If you're actually deciding to get the RTX 3050 refresh version, please be aware that you're really leaving a lot of gaming performance on the table here. If you like this review, consider liking the video and or subscribe to the channel as well. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye and tschüss.